Hello everybody, welcome to Unit 4 Biology Area of Study 1. Today we are looking at the dot points that are related to human changes over time. So this is the final component of Unit 4 Area of Study 1. So the dot points that we are looking at today are discussing the shared characteristics that define primates, hominoids and hominins. We're going to be looking at major trends in hominin evolution, so looking at Australopithecus to the Homo genus. And we are going to be looking at the relationship that Homo sapiens, Homo Neanderthals, and Denisovans may have had along that evolutionary tree. So we'll just make a start looking at the three major categories that we have. So when you see these categories, I want you to think of primates being overarching, and then we've got hominoids, and then we've got hominins. So primates include basically all of our apes and monkeys. So it includes lemurs, lorises, monkeys, apes, and man. It is our overarching classification. So most primates are tree dwellers. They were found in tropical forests and woodland habitats, and they have numerous features that we focus on. So they have flexible hands and feet, 5 digits, are able to grip and curl around objects, and they have what we call opposable thumbs or opposable digits. They have flat nails on the digits and high amounts of touch receptors at the tips of their digits. They have large forward-facing eyes, 3D vision, color vision, and a protective bone on the outer eye socket. They have flexible skeletons. They're able to rotate the shoulder sockets, arm extenders behind the body as well. That's useful for tree dwelling. They have large brains relative to their body size, many neurons which have greater concentration of neurons per volume of brain tissue, especially in those higher apes. They are social, usually living in groups from 2 to several hundred, and they have a long gestation period. So a longer gestation period is going to allow for greater fetal development, for brain growth, and providing parental care over an extended period of time. Some other features that we also talk about is our sexual dimorphism, which means males and females are different. All right, our next categories are hominoids or hominids, and they include all modern great apes and humans and a number of their extinct ancestors and relatives, but we do not include monkeys when we talk about hominoids. So humans are considered hominins of the superfamily, along with all lesser apes, so things like gibbons and other great apes like chimps, gorillas, and orangutans. So we are excluding monkeys from this category. Monkeys have tails and narrow chests, whereas our apes are tailless and they have wider chests. Hominoids, their features include larger and more complex brains. They have broad palates and nasal regions. They have distinctive molar teeth in their lower jaw. They have long upper limbs, quite a large rib cage, creating that wider chest. An axial skeleton, so reduced lumbar spine and expanded sacrum with no tail, and the shoulder joints allow again for rotation of the arms around those shoulders. We then have our category that branches off of that, which is our hominins. So our hominins are usually referring to humans, okay, species that are regarded as humans or directly ancestral of humans or very closely related to humans. So they are the modern classification group that we relate to of the tribe Homini. At this level, humans are completely now separated from the great apes, which are separated from branch off of hominoids. So in terms of hominins, include all members of the genus Homo, which are humans, and any extinct erect walking ancestors, so any ancestors that walked upright, such as Homo erectus and various species of Australopithecus, which we're going to talk about as well. The human's closest living relative is the common pygmy chimp from the tribe Panini. So hominins, we know humans use bipedal locomotion, which means they walk on 2 feet, unlike other primates who used quadrupedal locomotion, so they were walking on 4 legs. So in terms of looking at hominins, our features include modified feet, thigh bone, pelvis, and spine. We have a larger cerebral cortex, so our forebrain, reduced canines and our teeth in general, a prominent nose and chin, but we have reduced eye socket ridges. Our body hair is a lot shorter or reduced to assist with cooling, high sensitive skin, and we have complex social behavior. So some examples that we're now going to delve into in terms of hominins are Australopithecus and Homo. So let's get right into that. So in terms of looking now at hominin evolution and how modern humans as we know them came to be. So we need to understand that there are major trends in hominin evolution from the genus Australopithecus all the way now down to Homo sapiens, which we are. So anything starting with the genus A, okay, that stands for Australopithecus, and anything starting with H, that is for the genus Homo. So remember, when we write these down, we write genus first and then species. So the ones that we're going to focus on today are Australopithecus afarensis. We are going to talk about Homo habilis, Homo erectus, Homo neanderthals, and of course Homo sapiens. So in terms of understanding evolution to the point that we have understood today, all right, it's heavily reliant on the human fossil record, okay? So classification from this to have what we have today is still open to interpretation as more sort of evidence comes in place that is going to be challenged, and new models can be created as well if they can be explained. When we're looking at trends in hominin evolution, the things that we are looking at is that hominins are us as we know it, and our upright walking ancestors, so those that walked on 2 feet or were bipedal. But the features that we're focusing on are skull shape and morphology, looking at human teeth, brow ridges, the brain size, how the face has become flatter, jaw lines, foramen magnum, pelvis shape, and our distinct heel for upright walking. So if we make a start looking at Australopithecus afarensis, you may be familiar with Lucy as an example of Australopithecus afarensis. The physique you can see here was light built. Lucy or Australopithecus afarensis had some ape-like features in terms of relatively long arms, curved fingers and toes, and still there was sexual dimorphism. In terms of the skull, there was an ape-like face, a low forehead, bony brown ridge, flat nose, and no prominent chin. In terms of their teeth, they were human-like teeth. The canines were a lot smaller than what apes were, but still larger than what humans are today. The jaw shape is sort of halfway between that of ape and our modern human. So in terms of looking at the skull, you can see here how it would compare to a human. All right, so it's more of a dish-shaped face. We've got a low forehead. The brain is a lot smaller. The nose is a lot flatter. If you're looking at the teeth, the canines are a lot larger than they are in humans. And there's little of the skull that is behind the foramen magnum. Okay, so where the spine would fit in over there. All right, looking now to our next ancestor is Homo habilis. So Homo habilis, in terms of physique, had relatively long arms, a smaller face with a little bit more of a developed nose, smaller, narrow molars, a thinner jaw. And in terms of structure, you can compare here again to the modern human skull. So we can see the nose is still a bit flat. We have quite a prominent brow ridge, a rounded cranium. More of the skull is still behind the foramen magnum. The jaw is less massive than Australopithecines or Australopithecus, so the jaw size has now become smaller. Tooth row displays a modern curve with narrow molars. So again, a little bit more similar to what we have, but not quite there just yet. All right, now looking at Homo erectus. So Homo erectus is sort of what we're looking at as a robust but human skeleton. So it's becoming a little bit more modern human-like. So in terms of looking at the skull, it's still now becoming a little bit more flat, a thick skull with a sagittal nil and a still large brow ridge, okay, over here. Smaller teeth than Homo habilis, so the size of the teeth is becoming smaller. And now again, looking here, you can compare it to our modern human. The brain size is bigger, thick brow ridge is still there, face is now flattening, we've got a projecting in the jaw, no chin still, teeth are smaller than Homo habilis, but bigger than what we know our teeth to be now, and there is attachment for a strong neck muscles to stop the head from sort of sagging forward, okay, so we're now, that upright is becoming a little bit more obvious. All right, in terms of looking at the brain, there is now more area for speech recognition as well, so things in terms of our brainal capacity are becoming a lot more developed for speech production as well. All right, so we then have Homo Neanderthalensis or Homo neanderthals, which again, robust but have more of a human-like skeleton, adapted for the colder climates. So they were found around Europe and Western Asia. They have a double-arched brow ridge, high rounded orbits, a mid-face projection, a weak chin, so we're seeing now the development of that chin, a long, low skull, and a small mastoid process. So in terms of looking at the features of the skull, they're becoming a lot more alike to what we're familiar with. There's more of a sloping forehead, a low, long cranium, the double-arched brow ridge. The nose is now also becoming a lot more prominent and larger. Like I mentioned, the chin, the teeth, again, they're smaller than the Homo erectus, but still bigger than what we know them as, and a powerful jaw, but reduced compared to the Homo erectus. The skull is widest now at the base, which, unlike modern skulls, which are wider near the top. So that's another major difference between Homo sapiens as we know it and Homo neanderthals as well. Alrighty, then moving on to us as we know it, our earliest modern humans. So the Homo sapiens, the modern skeleton possibly adapted for warmth. Okay, so you're going to notice a lot less body hair than our ancestors. There is a smaller or little brow ridge. Okay, so that's something that's decreased a lot, and a shorter and higher skull. Our teeth are a lot smaller, shorter jaws as well compared to the Neanderthals, and our chin is now quite developed in comparison. So the first Homo sapiens anatomically that we call modern were about 160,000 years ago in Africa and the Middle East, and they underwent some cultural revolution about 40,000 years ago, where again we started using toolkits and becoming a little bit more sophisticated. So they were skilled hunters, tool makers, and artists. All right, the final part that we needed to just look at were Denisovans. Okay, so Homo denisovan. In 2008, a bone fragment was discovered in Siberia. Researchers first thought that they were of Homo neanderthals, but once they look at their DNA sequence, it was determined that it was a different hominid sequence. So they were named then Homo Denisovans. So Denisovans seem to have arisen from the Middle East, and there is said to be some inbreeding that has occurred with Neanderthals before they headed to Asia. So in terms of that, we had seen interbreeding between the Denisovan population, Neanderthals, and Homo sapiens all occurring at the same time on several instances. So remember, in terms of looking at all of these different Homo and Australopithecus ancestors, there would have been some overlaps between them at different times. If you have any questions about this, please leave it below. Otherwise, that brings us to the end. Give this video a thumbs up and have a good day.